James Stockdale was a young fighter pilot flying bombing missions over North Vietnam when his F-8 airplane was hit by anti-aircraft fire. Stockdale ejected out, and as he parachuted down to the village below, he said to himself, quote, "I'm leaving the world of technology." When his parachute landed, angry villagers attacked him, broke his leg so badly he walked with a limp for the rest of his life. He was then taken to prison, where he was spent the next 7 years of his life. As the senior naval officer in the prison, he was in charge of organizing the other inmates. He was tortured 15 times, put in solitary confinement for over 4 years, and kept in leg irons for 2 years. When Jim Collins read his memoir, he wondered how on earth did he survive when he was actually there, and he didn't know the end of the story. When Jim Collins posed that question to the Admiral, Stockdale's answer surprised him. We'll get to that in just a couple of minutes. Hey, this is Todd from Construction Leading Edge. Welcome to the Construction Leading Edge podcast. And we're going to be talking about adversity today. And if there's anybody who has dealt with adversity, it's Admiral James Stockdale. So here's the deal. I think we can all agree life is hard. And by the way, this is an episode you may want to go watch on YouTube. I've got some things I'll be sharing on the screen. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you're going to get a lot of value out of it, but you may want to go back and watch this one on YouTube. So, but I think we can all agree, right? If you've been around the sun a few times, life is hard. Maybe your life has not been as hard as being a POW, but adversity and challenges, they're just a part of life. And, you know, maybe we're supposed to be just miserable, right? Maybe you've probably been around some people who are just constantly unhappy, constantly stressed, constantly frustrated. And maybe this quote that I found is true. Life is hard, then you die, then they throw dirt in your face, then the worms eat you. Be grateful that it happens in that order. Right? Life is hard, then you die, then they throw dirt in your face, then the worms eat you. Just be grateful that it happens in that order. Maybe life's just supposed to be miserable. Maybe owning a business or being in the construction industry is just supposed to suck, right? But what if there's another way? What if there's another way to think about adversity? Clearly, James Stockdale thought about it differently, and we'll find out how he thought about it. What if people who are more successful don't have less adversity? What if they have as much adversity as you'd have? And maybe what if the people who are more successful actually deal with more adversity? What if they just think differently about adversity than you do? And what if you could change the way that you think about adversity? So let's talk about why is this problem important? I think most of us are probably familiar with some of the side effects and the symptoms of being in the construction industry. There are some pretty alarming statistics, including a few here. Like a recent study found that 83% of people in the construction industry have experienced a mental health issue, anxiety, depression, etc. 50% of construction businesses fail in the first 5 years. Even worse, this is the most alarming one, construction has a suicide rate that's 4 times the national average. Now, think about this for a minute. Think about the ripple effects of the challenges and the adversity and the stress. When a business owner is stressed about cash flow, what are the ripple effects of that? When somebody is dealing with a mental health issue because of the stress of construction, when somebody takes their own life, think about the ripple effects of that on your health, your families, your employees, the people around you. What causes that stress? What causes the stress? It's probably, when I think about it, the thing that causes me stress are the challenges and the adversity that I faced. How am I going to get this done? How am I going to solve this challenge? What if this happens, right? You may be wondering, Todd, what do you know about adversity, right? You have this podcast, you get to do the things that you get to do. Well, I have had my share of adversity. Let me tell you about what was probably the hardest day of my life. and probably the hardest day of my wife's life as well. See, when we walked into the courtroom, we were surprised to find that it was full of people. And the room was full because there was a jury selection process, which we didn't realize was going to be happening because we were there for a guardianship hearing. And the guardianship hearing was for our oldest daughter. She had turned 18, and because of her situation, we needed to be granted legal guardianship of her. You see, our oldest daughter, Madeline, is nonverbal. She is severely developmentally delayed. She has a lot of physical challenges. She has seizures occasionally. She is gradually losing her ability to walk, and we basically have to do everything for her. She requires 24/7 care, and she is now 24 years old, and that's what we were there for. She had turned 18. She couldn't make decisions for herself, and we were there to get legal guardianship of her. Now, there was no contention. The jury was there because that's just what is required, but there was no contention about getting guardianship of Madeline. But what made it really difficult is we had to sit there and listen to medical experts say that Madeline is permanently disabled and she needs somebody to take care of her for the rest of her life. And that's something we deal with on it every day and have for the past 22 years since her issues started. And we deal with it every day, but it's rare that we have to sit in a courtroom facing a jury of people and hear medical experts say, this is what your life is going to be like. It's never going to change. It's permanent. It's irreversible. And you're going to take care of your daughter the rest of your life. And you'll have legal guardianship of her. Now, I've dealt with a lot of challenges in my life. I've dealt with huge, insurmountable project challenges. I've gone through financial crisis. I've been fired multiple times. I've faced challenges that I didn't know how I was going to get around. Business, legal, financial, project, construction, people issues. But raising a disabled child is the hardest thing I've ever done. It's the greatest adversity that I've ever faced. And there's nothing I can do to solve it. There is absolutely nothing that I can do to solve it. So I've learned a few things about adversity. Now, maybe you haven't dealt with a disabled child. I hope you haven't, but I'll bet you've dealt with some type of adversity. And maybe you're dealing with some adversity right now. Maybe there's some sort of adversity that you can't solve. Just some adversity that is completely out of your hands. There's nothing you can do. So I think we can all agree that adversity is not going to go away. It's just a part of life. So what happens when we expect things to be easy? What happens when we just hope there won't be adversity? When we hope things will be easy? It's a setup for disappointment. If life is full of adversity and challenges and you expect life to be easy, you're just setting yourself up for disappointment and for failure. So today I want to talk about some other ways that we can deal with adversity. Not only ways to deal with adversity, but how we can reframe adversity and look at it in a different way. Maybe when you think about adversity, maybe you hide from it. Maybe you avoid adversity. Maybe you conceal adversity. Like, adversity is bad. Failure is bad. Adversity is to be avoided at all costs. What else do we do when we face adversities? Maybe some of you are like Princess Elsa in the Frozen movie that I watched with my kids recently, where she says, conceal, don't feel, don't let it show. Conceal it, don't feel it, don't let it show. Don't let anybody know that you're dealing with some sort of adversity, some sort of challenge, right? We tend to isolate ourselves when we're dealing with adversity. We self-flagellate. We just beat ourselves up. Why did you do this? Why did you do this again? How could you let this happen? You don't deserve this. We just self-flagellate. when we deal with adversity, sometimes we assume we made a mistake. We blame ourselves, or we look for somebody else to blame. Sometimes we fall victim to shiny object syndrome. When things get hard over here, we see a shiny object come along and we jump to something else. We go over there, or we just quit when we face adversity. We just give up. Curious, what about you? Have you ever done any of those things? Any of those things sound familiar? Well, here's the deal. The problem that you're facing isn't really the problem, okay? The adversity you're dealing with isn't the problem. The problem is the story you're telling yourself about what it means, okay? The problem isn't the problem. Your real problem is the story you're telling yourself about what it means. If you're looking at the screen, if you're watching this video, you'll see a picture of a gymnasium. And in March 2020, my son was playing in this gym in the second round of the regional high school basketball tournament. It was the furthest his school had advanced in a long time. His team was winning against a higher ranked opponent. It was late in the game. And if they won that game, they would need to win that game plus one more to go to the state tournament, which hadn't happened in 50 years. Our school had not gone to the state tournament in 50 years. So everybody's excited. We're packed in. Now, granted, this was March 2020. There were thousands of people in this gymnasium. It was a few days before the COVID shutdown. Maybe it was a bit of a hotbed of COVID activity. Nobody's ever going to know. But what I do know for sure is that with less than a minute left and my son's team up by a couple of points, a player makes a pass. It is obviously deflected out of bounds by the other team. The referee blows his whistle, calls it out of bounds on us, and gives the other team the ball. Now, my question for you was that good or was it bad? Was it a good thing that he blew the whistle, gave the ball to the other team, or was it a bad thing? Well, based on the crowd's reaction, half of the gym thought it was a bad thing. The other half of the gym thought it was a good thing. So what that tells me is the answer to the question, was it good or bad, is it depends on who you ask. Half the gym said good, half the gym said bad. I can tell you our half of the gym probably said some profanities in the direction of the referees. So the event, here's the thing. When he blew the whistle and gave the ball to the other team, it was not objectively good or objectively bad. It just was. You see, it's not what happens to you. What matters is the story you tell yourself about what it means. Our side of the gym was telling ourselves, this is bad. They're going to get the advantage. We're going to lose. We're not going to go to the next round, etc. The other team looked at it and said, "Ooh, this is good. We get the ball back. Now we have a better shot of winning." See, it's about how you frame it. Okay? It's not what happens to you. What matters is the story you tell yourself about what it means. Sometimes we tell ourselves stories like, "This is bad." We tell ourselves the story of, "I messed up. I'm not good enough. This should have been easier. I should be further along. I shouldn't have done this. I should know better." Stories that we tell ourselves. So what can we do? What can we do? We can hope for a stress-free life, but that's a bit of a fool's errand, right? Adversity's coming. If you haven't dealt with adversity, good for you. But I can tell you it's not a matter of if you'll deal with adversity, but when and how much. Okay, adversity is coming for you. So are we destined to be the title of the famous song from the Soggy Bottom Boys in "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou"? I'm a man of constance, though. Are we just supposed to lament and wail and moan and bitch and complain about things? Well, let's look at a few ways to reframe adversity, all right? If successful people are looking at it differently, if people who are more successful than you have just as much adversity, maybe more adversity, how are they looking at it differently? What if the way they frame adversity is the key to success? What if the story they're telling themselves is the key? So let's talk about a few real life different ways you can reframe adversity. So I asked my trainer, Sean, who's a competitive power lifter, I said, I'm going to do this talk on reframing adversity. How do you guys deal with that? Competitive weightlifter, power lifter, you have good days, right? How do you deal with adversity? And he pointed over into the corner of the gym where a phrase was written on the wall on a whiteboard. And it said, some days good, some days shit. And it's actually better to say it in an accent. Some days it may be good, some days it may be shit. It's just the reality. Some days are good, some days are shit, right? Here's what a world-famous Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, Henner Gracie, said. I heard an interview where he said, adversity is an opportunity to develop new techniques. Adversity is just an opportunity to develop new techniques. If you get yourself in a tough situation, it's an opportunity to develop new techniques. Alex Hormozy, world-famous now entrepreneur, says this. This is the story he tells himself. This is when most people quit. When he's dealing with adversity, he says, this is when most people quit. This is when the competition quits. So I'm going to keep going because this is when most people quit. Jocko Willink says this, leadership requires belief in the mission and unyielding perseverance to achieve victory. It requires unyielding perseverance. What do you have to persevere? Adversity. Without adversity, there can be no perseverance, right? Speaking of that, for those of you who are Bible readers, there's a verse, James chapter 1, verse 2 and 3, where these first century Christians they share a very unique perspective on adversity. This is what James said, consider it pure joy when you face trials, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Like, think about that. Consider it pure joy, not just, suck it up, deal with it, but do the math. Consider it pure joy when you face trials, because the testing of your faith produces perseverance. It produces, if you look up this word perseverance, it's translated a few different ways. One is endurance. The testing of your faith produces endurance. It produces the ability to remain under a load. The way I think about this is tests and adversity make you more useful. They make you more useful. They make you able to carry more of a load. In one of my favorite books, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill says this, those who have cultivated the habit of persistence seem to enjoy insurance against failure. No matter how many times they're defeated, they finally arrive at the top of the ladder. This is interesting. It appears they have a hidden guide whose duty is to test them through all sorts of discouraging experience. The hidden guide lets no one enjoy great achievement without passing the persistence test. Let me say that again. I found this to be true. I've seen this over and over in my life. It appears that there's a hidden guide whose duty is to test you through all sorts of discouraging experience. The hidden guide lets no one enjoy great achievement without passing the persistence test. So when you're in the middle of adversity, you can say, I'm sitting for the persistence test. You can think of it as a puzzle, like a Rubik's Cube, right? Have you ever sat down to a puzzle that's challenging and thought, oh my God, how am I ever going to solve this? This is just impossible. It's a puzzle. Everything is figure-outable. This is another way to look at it. This is a puzzle, and it's figure-outable. Everything is figure-outable. And what about James Stockdale, the fighter pilot who was shot down over Vietnam? When Jim Collins read his memoir, he wondered, how on earth did he survive when he was actually there and he didn't know the end of the story? James Stockdale didn't have the benefit of knowing how things were going to turn out. So Collins posed that question to the Admiral, and Stockdale's answer really surprised him. Stockdale said, I never lost faith in the end of the story. I never doubted not only that I would get out, but also that I would prevail in the end, that I would turn the experience into the defining moment of my life, which in retrospect, I would not trade. Get that. Listen to that. He told himself in the middle of a POW camp, said, I never doubted that I would get out, that I would prevail, and I would turn this experience into the defining event of my life. And in retrospect, I wouldn't trade it. So when you're going through adversity, you have to understand this is a test maybe you're going through. And you can look at it one of two ways. This thing is going to crush me, or it's going to be the defining event of your life. So I want to ask you a question. Think about this. Is there somebody in your family or in your circle, maybe a mentor, who has endured adversity so you can be where you are today? Think about that. Is there a family member, parent, grandparent, some ancestor, a mentor, somebody who's in your family, somebody who's connected with you, who has endured adversity so you can be where you are today? In other words, who planted a tree that you are now sitting in the shade of? Whose adversity and whose challenges and whose perseverance and whose endurance are you the beneficiary of? Think about that. Aren't you glad that person endured adversity, that they persevered, and those people? So that's what I tell myself. Look, this is not about me. I get frustrated. I get down. It's tough. So when I think about dealing with a lot of the challenges, especially raising a disabled child, I tell myself, this is not about me, right? I'm doing this for her. I'm doing this for my kids. I'm going to do my job. I'm going to play the hand I've been dealt. I'm going to handle my shit. I think about my grandfather. I have two incredible grandfathers. One was in World War II. He was shot down over Italy, spent some time in a POW camp. It was kind of a miracle that he lived and survived that. Then he went on and basically lived a very selfless life for his kids, for my mom and her siblings. And because of his endurance, because of his perseverance, because of what he did, I am where I am today. My other grandfather, also born in the Depression, probably had a 9th or 10th grade education, worked hard, bought land, farmed his entire life, acquired land, did what he did for his family and for me. And because of their perseverance, because of how they dealt with adversity, I am where I am today. So another way if you're dealing with adversity, tell yourself, I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing this for them. I'm doing this for somebody else. I'm going to do my job. I'm going to hold the line. You see, we falsely think that adversity is bad. This may surprise you. We falsely think that adversity is bad, that we should hide it, that we should avoid it, that we should hide from it, that it's a weakness. But the truth is, we can choose to reframe adversity. You get to tell yourself, you get to choose the story you tell yourself about adversity. And the truth is, when you embrace adversity, when we embrace adversity, it makes us unstoppable. Whether it's, you take the lens that Henry Gracie, the Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt, said, adversity is an opportunity to develop a new technique. This is going to make me better. Or your Alex Hormozy, who said, this is when most people, in parentheses, my competitors, quit. Or James Stockdale said, this is the defining moment of my life. Or the first century Christians who said, count it all joy when you face trials because it develops endurance and perseverance. One thing is clear from all of these, they chose to reframe adversity. They looked at adversity, they looked at challenges, and they said, good, this is going to make me better. They looked at the adversity, they embraced it, and they said, bring it on. Good, this is going to make me better. So what would it look like if you begin to embrace adversity? Instead of hiding it, instead of running from it, instead of hiding from it, what if you began to ask some questions like, who is this going to help? This adversity that I'm facing, who is this going to help? how is this going to make me better? How is this going to make me more useful, more valuable? Another question would be, who can I share this with? Who can I share this adversity with? And then think about this question. What would it look like if your team begins to embrace adversity? Just imagine that when you are embracing adversity, changing the story, using a positive lens, embracing adversity. And then when your team is embracing adversity, when there's a challenge on projects and they're embracing adversity instead of hiding from it or hiding it, what would it look like if your team begins to embrace adversity? So I want to leave you with this additional thought when it comes to adversity. I heard this recently, that we impress people with our strengths, right? And there's a lot of that on social media. There's a lot of highlight reel stuff on social media, people talking about their strengths, the size of their company, the work they're doing, their projects, their highlight reel stuff. We impress people with our strengths, but we connect with them through our struggles. We connect with people through our strengths, but we impress people with our strengths, but we connect with them through our struggles. We connect with them through the adversity that we share. So if you're dealing with some adversity, embrace it. Don't avoid it. It has the opportunity to make you unstoppable, depending on how you look at it. Share that adversity with someone. You'll build strong relationships with them, and you'll become unstoppable. So speaking of adversity and challenges, Leyah Hostetter, our Director of Customer Success here at Construction Leading Edge, recently sat down with one of our clients who went through our Systematize Your Construction Business program. Michael Thorp, the owner of a business in Tulsa, Oklahoma, sat down with Leyah and shared some of the challenges that he was dealing with in his business. He was transparent. He was having some thoughts of scaling back. He wondered things like, is it worth keeping this business going? And he came to a turning point, and he decided to make some changes in his business and take some action. What adversity was he facing? How did he handle it? And how did it turn out? And then how did his team respond to the changes that he made? Well, that short interview is coming up in just a couple of minutes, where you'll learn the answers to those questions. I'll share that with you right after I share a couple of resources that I want to put in your hands. So listen, check out these resources, and then be sure to listen to Leyah's interview with Michael Thorp. George Patton once said, "A good plan violently executed now is better than a perfect plan next week." So while the general was really well known for the violently executed part, his success started with the first three words of that statement: a good plan. So I'd like to pose a couple of questions to you. Number one, how much time have you spent creating a good plan for your business for the next 12 months? Question number two is, how clear is your team on the plan or the strategy for the next 12 months? Look, as a leader, it's your responsibility to have a good plan and then to articulate it to the team, right? They're kind of depending on you for that. So if you would like some help with developing your good plan, your strategy for your business, I have something for you. Right now, you can download our strategic planning guide that's been used by hundreds of our clients over the past 5 years. And you can get it for free. In the time that it would take to watch a couple of episodes of Ted Lasso, which is a great show, by the way. But in the time it would take to watch a couple of episodes, you can have clarity on your strategy for the next year to be able to share with your team. And it's probably going to help you to have that clarity as well. And you'll have some well-defined goals to work on. So you can download your copy of our strategic planning guide for free by going to constructionleadingedge.com/planning, PLANNING. That's constructionleadingedge.com/planning. And I have another resource for you. Another question. If you own a construction business, I'm curious if any of these statements I'm about to read sound familiar. The first one is, every problem comes to me. Maybe it feels like you're just winging it. Maybe you think, I can't get away from work. I can't turn it off. It's starting to consume my life. I'm afraid we're going to lose people because of the chaos. If I try to take a vacation, I'll have a shitstorm waiting for me when I get back. That's an actual quote. Maybe you have plans for the next business venture, but you feel stuck in the day-to-day. You feel like a visionary who is stuck in day-to-day operations. Maybe you're worried, what's going to happen if we try to grow this business? And maybe if you're being honest, you're wondering, am I the only one who's struggling with this? Am I the only one who hasn't figured this out? Well, if any of those statements sound familiar, you're not alone. Okay, here's something that will help you. Over the past 5 years here at Construction Leading Edge, we've helped over 300 construction business owners, and we figured out that there are a few crucial systems that will help you get out of your business, get out of firefighting. A while back, I presented a masterclass on those crucial systems to a few hundred builders, remodelers, and general contractors who use CoConstruct. And right now you can access that video masterclass for free. It's called Get Out of Your Construction Business, How to Make It Run Without You This Year. If you'd like to get a free copy of that video masterclass that you can watch whenever you want to, go to constructionleadingedge.com/get out. Enter your info and we'll send it to you. That's constructionleadingedge.com/get out. GETOUT.
Michael, thank you so much for taking some time to chat with me. Would you kick things off by telling us a bit about yourself and the business?
Sure. My name is Michael, and I own a company. It's called Kitchen Ideas. We are a kitchen design and remodel firm. We specialize in kitchens and large master suites. Mainly everything's interior. We love both the design and the build part of it, so that's what we specialize in.
Very good.
Company's about yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, the company was started in 1978, and I bought it from the owner who I worked for in 2018. So that's kind of where we are today.
Very cool. And remind us where you're located again.
We're located in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
That's right. Okay. Thank you, Michael. So I want to take us back to several weeks ago. You just wrapped up the SYCB program recently. If you can go back 12 weeks ago or so, before you joined this program, what were some of the problems and challenges that you were having in your business?
The problems were work was never ending, number one. It just seems like there was too much going on, always something to do. You could never catch up, and you were just chasing something you were never going to finish. My staff would be helpful when they could be, but a lot of times I would think, why didn't they think of this? Or why didn't they do this? Or how come I have to do this again? Or, it was just that never-ending cycle of, okay, they didn't do this, the meeting's tomorrow, I'm just going to take care of it all, get it done. Gave me very little time for personal life. And it was one of those things that I would sit down frequently and say, why do I pay these people this much money? I mean, what benefit am I getting out of it? And I had lots of thoughts of, hey, let's just scale it back. Let it just be you. Just do what you want to do. Have the people, the crews go do it. And, what does that look like for me? Yeah, it's a job for the rest of your life. Is that what you really want? But it would be less chaotic. So there was quite a bit of chaos, and everything seemed to be done at the last minute, and everything seemed to be almost an emergency. Nobody could think ahead in advance and tell you that you didn't have this or that, or we were going to have this meeting tomorrow, and nobody did the budget or this or that. Everything was the day before. Hey, we got this tomorrow, jump in. So whatever you had planned, throw it out the window, and there you go. That's kind of what life was like.
So constant firefighting and just running with whatever the current emergency is.
Correct. It just seemed like that was a daily thing.
Oh my goodness. And what was the frustration like for you trying to solve some of these problems?
The frustration was really deciding if I was in the right place, doing what I really wanted to do, if it was worth it to really own a business and to go through the stress, the late nights, the early mornings, trying to cram everything in, get it done. I was just at a point that it was kind of like, hey, there's either a better way or you just need to change. And that's kind of where I was.
It was your personal breaking point, it sounds like.
Pretty close.
Yeah, pretty close. Well, let's fast forward now a few weeks from that frustration and that okay. Breaking point, if you will. Now you've started in the SYCB program and you're starting to work through the content. What point in the program or what piece of content were you just thinking, wow, I think this is really going to help?
I think there were two big places. The first point was, I think when we were kind of first introduced to the accountability chart, because it was something that I knew existed for large corporations, but maybe not a small business of 6, right? And it started to become kind of clear that, hey, nobody really knows what they're truly responsible for because we're all doing the same thing. And it's kind of like, well, I thought you did it and I thought they did it. And I don't think anybody was doing that intentional, trying to slough it off. It's just they probably really thought somebody else was working on it. I think that was point number one, that it was kind of the glimmer of it's going to get better. We're going to define it. But then you turn around and you go through nail the handoff. And, that's when I would say the accountability chart was my change mentally, that this needs to be done for growth. But when we did nail the handoff, that's when the team really got involved and they started to see, hey, this is going to change quite a bit. So I have 2. I can't narrow it down to 1.
It's kind of hard to narrow it down, really.
Yeah.
But what I heard you say in there that I think was really impactful is both you individually and your team had these moments of glimmer of hope. And your mindset started to shift. And wow, this chaos could actually be eliminated. We could actually do things in a different way around here.
Right.
It's really quite hopeful for all of you.
It was very impactful.
Awesome. So you may have already shared this, but what was the most impactful or beneficial thing that you learned from the program?
For me, again, we already said, the processes and the systems themselves are really great. I think for me, the most impactful thing is to guide and let go, to lead and let go, to set it in motion, give them some rails on the side of the road, but don't make them go in a straight line down the road. Tell them what winning looks like. Tell them what you need them to do in their job and let them figure it out, and always offer to come to me for help if they're stuck. Mm-hmm. I think for me, because I am sort of a perfectionist, and sometimes as a perfectionist, you just like, let me take it, I'll do it. I know it'll be right that way. I don't have to second guess it. And I think really going through the whole process and learning to let go a little bit and trust in their skills, that was probably the biggest part for me.
And you had just shared briefly before we started this call, you had shared an example of how that's working for you in your business, where you're guiding your team, you're setting the expectations, telling them what winning looks like, and then helping them to connect with their why as to why they would want to do things in a certain way. Would you mind sharing a bit more about that?
Yeah, there's one person in our company that hasn't jumped on board as fast as anyone else, and it's been one of those that they do things the way you expect for a while, and then it goes south, and then you have what I call a come to Jesus meeting with them. They do it well for a while, and then they fall back into old habits, and that's kind of been a rinse and recycle scenario for quite a while. And I think it impacts. Well, I know it impacts the entire team. It's like, why do we have to keep going through this? Why do you keep having to have those meetings? And I've tried multiple ways to say things differently and get things across to that person in hopes that they kind of see the light and come on board and whatnot. And so recently, one of the things that I did was we have our accountability chart, and I haven't shared that with any of my team yet. I'm still tweaking it, the perfectionist inside me. But I've been building it, and not sharing it yet has been good because it's getting refined and identified. I recently asked him, told him what I had to do, didn't tell him any of the content, said, I have a list of 6 things that I think are the most important things that you have to do in your job to win, to be good at your job. And I would really appreciate in the next 2 weeks if you would take some downtime and think about what are your top 3, what are your top 5, what are your top 8 things that you think need to be done in order to do your job well and to be good at your job. And as I shared with you, magically, this was last week, the conversation, he decided to take off what would be tomorrow. It would be a week later. And I called him and said, are you doing anything fun? And he said, no. He's like, I've just got some stuff to work on. And I'm like, okay. And so we're hoping for a big shift, hoping for that moment where he kind of sees the light that everybody else sees.
That's awesome. And the fact that your team has seen the light, and I'm sure that really started in your team session doing Nail the Handoff, where they got to be a part of it. And you had mentioned how that is so impactful versus you just coming with a 100% perfect process or having your team put together something that maybe isn't perfect, but they're using it and it works. Tell us a little bit more about that and how that shifted the energy in your business and how things are better for you because of that.
Yeah, Nail the Handoff was very impactful. Coming into prior to the meeting, I sent out the questionnaire, and honestly, in the back of my head, I'm thinking, are they going to buy into this? Is anybody going to answer the questions? Are they afraid to tell the truth? Is it all just going to be what they think I want to hear versus what they really want to say? So we're going into the meeting. Everybody's kind of, the energy is normal. I just started off leading with my list of questions and my list of frustrations and the things that I would like to be better for me in general. And then went around the room and they jumped on it, and they were honest, they were straightforward, and that just lit a fire under everybody. And from that moment on, the energy of the entire meeting and the energy kind of the company was changed. I mean, it was almost that moment. Was our Nail the Handoff perfect? No. You sit down the next day and you look at all the Post-its, and we were like, or I was like, especially, man, we kind of missed the mark on a few things, or we need to add to it or whatever. And for me, for a brief moment, it was like, darn, we missed that chance. And it was like, no, wait a minute, 80%, let's go, let's buy into it and build off of it. And so now every one of them has on their calendar for the next 6 months, 1 hour a day to work on their part of Nail the Handoff, whatever their job is. So they're all independently working. They don't have to give me reports. They don't have to give me anything, but they do come to me with questions, or should we do this? Should we do that? So I know it's working. I know it wasn't a one and done meeting. It was something that, I said was really important to the vitalness of our company. They all bought into it. They agreed after having the meeting. They love the energy. And so now they're willing to put it on their calendar and invest 1 hour a week to just improve their part of our pre-construction. And it's making big impacts in a hurry, to be quite honest.
That's amazing. I love hearing about great results like that. And that really leads to the last question I want to ask you is, how are things different for you? I'm sure in a myriad of ways, and you just expressed a little bit of that. But tell us a little bit more.
Well, I'm sitting here talking to you now. I'm not putting out fires. I'm actually at home on a day that normally I would have been at the office at 7:38, taking half day, work from home, got up and exercised this morning. Never had time to do that, right? Financially, the company's doing well. I mean, night and day hasn't changed yet. That takes time. Everybody knows that, but it's all going the right direction. It seems like staff, somebody had a birthday yesterday. We stopped everything, ordered in lunch, had time. It's a different energy. It's something that kind of becomes, it's kind of emotional because I was at a breaking point, and now I kind of feel like, there's light. So the energy of the entire company is completely different, and it feels wonderful.
I love that. That's so great. Thank you so much for sharing that, Michael. And we're all about results here, and we love to hear these positive results from you and from other clients. And it just, as a coach, it's very fulfilling to me to hear these things, to know that it wasn't me, but I got to help guide you to find these results in your team. So thank you. It was a pleasure to get to work with you, and thank you for sharing all that you shared with us. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Great. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
And hope you enjoyed that episode. Be sure to check out the show notes for more details over at constructionleadingedge.com/podcast. And if you get value out of this podcast, would you do me a favor? Would you please leave a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify? And if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. If you own a construction business and you feel stuck, or you feel like you're spending too much time in day-to-day firefighting, maybe dealing with all of the problems, if everything's stuck in your head, or if you just don't feel like you have time or energy to work on your business because you feel like you're stuck working in it, if you want your business to run without you so you can take a vacation, or maybe to be able to sell your business one day. Or if you just frankly want the business to survive if something happens to you, then there are 4 crucial systems that you need to have in place. Number 1, if you're a home builder, remodeler, or commercial general contractor, you have to get paid for estimates. Those free estimates are killing your bottom line, sucking the life out of you. And you can get all the tools you need to get paid for estimates, the templates, sales scripts, pricing guidance, and let's face it, the confidence that you need. You can get all of that for free right now over at constructionleadingedge.com/start. You'll get the entire Get Paid for Estimates masterclass. Go to constructionleadingedge.com/start. You can get all of that for free. The second crucial system is that you need to design your business for the future. You need to establish the major functions of your business and the results that each function is accountable for. You need to have clearly defined roles and responsibilities. This is the foundation of every successful business, and the best way to do that is to design your accountability chart for the future. Number 3, you need to design and document your process to nail the handoff from the office to the field. This is a very disciplined and documented process that maps out every step of the pre-construction process. Look, companies that are good construction companies are actually good pre-construction companies. They're good pre-construction companies. And when you design your nail the handoff process and you have this in place, this is going to eliminate 80% of the profit bleeds and the schedule delays and chaos on your job sites. And you'll also need to learn the secret sauce for getting your team to actually implement and follow a process. Number 4, the 4th crucial system are the leadership systems that your team will use to convert your goals into reality. Look, somebody needs to be planning tomorrow's work today. Someone needs to be doing a 2-week look ahead. Someone needs to be establishing the most important things for the next 6 to 8 weeks. And you need to be having regular team meetings that are actually functional. Those are your leadership systems. And if you would like our help putting those crucial systems in place in your business so that your business can run without you, so you can get out of day-to-day firefighting and take that firefighter hat off, or if you want to be able to sell your business one day, here's the next step. Go to constructionleadingedge.com/apply and schedule a free business evaluation call with our team. On that call, we're going to do a few things. We'll help you uncover the real root causes of your problems. Number 2, help you get clear on your objectives that you want to accomplish. And then number 3, to map out a plan to make it a reality. We'll also share with you some of the things that our construction business owner clients are doing to accomplish their goals and solve the problems that you're probably dealing with. And then if you're a fit, it looks like we have a good mutual fit, we'll discuss our Systematize Your Construction Business program. So to schedule your free business evaluation, head on over to constructionleadingedge.com/apply, APPLY. Hey, thanks for listening. I'll see you next time.